Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Today, Lisa is joining me again. Thank you, Lisa. We'll be doing back bends, and Lisa will be doing most of the demonstration. I will walk you through it. Today, we'll need a few blocks. So these are things you can get ready if you have them. If you don't, you can always use cans of soup. I've seen that with students as well. Have a chair and have a few bolsters and a blanket. Okay? So it's an overall back bend practice, mostly baby back bends, but we're holding a longer time. So just do what you can do. I'm showing modification with different props, so there should be something for everyone. Okay? Before we get started, if you enjoy this video and find it helpful, please give it a like. And if you're new to my channel, subscribe and don't forget to click the bell so that you are notified when the new videos are uploaded. Now let's get started. All right, so Lisa is here against the wall. She's going to use ropes. And if you don't have ropes, then I'll show you another alternative. But she'll take the ropes, so she'll take her hands on the ropes and she'll walk forward. So whenever you're going to use the ropes, you want to create that length first so you stabilize through your arms and shoulders. And now she's going to lean forward with gravity, bring her buttock forward, her tailbone forward, getting this back bending action already. So she lifts the chest. Sometimes we call this the Titanic pose. But anyway, the shoulders are dropping, shoulder blades are moving forward, and the sternum bone is lifting. Sternum bone is about 6 inches long, so lift from the center of the sternum, tailbone and middle buttocks in. Keep the firmness on the outer arms. So your connection at the shoulders, you have all the muscles around the shoulders. Firm those up, grip the outer arms, and lengthen forward. So I'm just going to show you here the direction that she's going. So I take my foot between her shoulder blades, holding onto her hands, moving the shoulder blades down and lifting the chest more. Okay? And then right at the tailbone, so you see that direction again, tailbone is moving, or the top of the buttocks is moving down, and the tailbone is moving forward. So we get stiff in this area, we get stiff in this area, we get stiff in all these areas, so I'm doing a little massage for her back there. Okay, so that's how you can do it with the ropes. You can take your feet hips width apart also to give yourself a little bit more space. So you're opening through the front groin as you are firming the buttocks. So you're not clenching the buttocks, but you're firming the buttocks to be able to open through the front thighs, okay, and lengthen through the front of the pelvis. So now you come onto your toes a little bit more, lift up. So keep your heels lifted up. So you're not on your heels, you're lifting your heels, and you're lifting up. Okay, so now I'm going to have her come down. If you don't have ropes, imagine that you had your couch there, right, or a counter, and take your hands on the counter, and then just lengthen your arms back, and get that Padangusthasana, that lift of the chest. Okay, maybe you can come onto your toes, if you can hold it. If the counter has a little lip, then you can take your hands, turn your arms the other direction. So turn your arms the other direction now, so there's 2 directions you can turn your hands. So if you're at the counter, you're on your toes, you're holding, and you're moving the shoulders back, shoulder blades in, lifting up through the chest. So before she had her hands in a different position, so she's just rotated the hands and the arms. As she does that, she's breathing into it, lifting up through the chest. Also, if you have a chair, you can sit on the chair and extend your arms back. Have the feet on the floor, knees together, and get that lift of the chest. Okay? You can come out. All right, now she's going to, if you don't have ropes, you won't be able to do the next one with the ropes. You're going to go into downward, so walk forward, good. So when you're coming into, the safest way to come is to come forward, let the arms extend and lengthen, and then walk the feet back toward the wall. Keep the arms straight. So in upward dog, downward dog here, the arms are always straight, the legs are always straight, And you're using that same principle of the head lifting, chest lifting, come up. So that same area that I was pressing into her here, between the shoulder blades, that's coming forward. Tops of the buttocks moving down, tailbone moving in. Pressing into the feet, the big toes, little toe side, and then bring the heels. So have them all the way at the wall. Can you come all the way to the wall? Good. So it's taking her a little bit lower now. And then come back up. And as she comes up, keeps the arms straight, keep the legs straight, release the head down. And then with your inhalation, lift up again. So she'll do it a few times. And this, if you have ropes, will help you to warm up a little bit before your back bend practice. Getting all the right actions with the length coming from the side trunk, shoulder blades moving towards one another and in, and then the buttock moving down. That's it. Press the heels at the wall. Keep the legs lengthened so the thighs are resisting moving toward the floor. They're lifting up, and the backs of the thighs moving down. Good. A couple more times. With your breath, try and come down in a fluid motion, so you're lifting your hips and dropping your head, moving your hips down, lifting your head. Keep the heels pressing into the wall. So from your outer hips to your outer heels, lengthening. Stay on the ball of the big toe. So this mound is coming up a little bit when she's coming, so keep the feet in contact, using the feet to help you move in and up. That's good. Okay. Last time. She's doing all the work here. We'll have her come up. So you can go slowly with that, or you can go a little bit faster. Okay? So as you are more efficient with your upward and downward dog, and if you have ropes, then you can do that. Okay, so now you're going to take Parivrtta. Okay, so you're going to come to the wall. She'll bend her right knee, and she's got to be one. First, she'll start with a bent knee with the foot on the floor. Okay, maybe a little bit. Yeah, that's about right. Okay, so when she straightens her leg, that will be the next pose that she does. She'll straighten and bring the foot all the way to the wall. But we'll start with the bent knee position, just to get that side lateral lengthening and turning. Okay, so you want to keep this hip in line with the knee. So when she goes toward the wall side, the hip is not going toward the wall side. So it's not leaning, but she has to resist here with the inner thigh. Pressing into the front of the ankle, front of the foot. So using the front of the foot to really be your brake there. And then she'll raise the left arm up. And now she's going to come laterally. So she's deepening here, keeping this pelvis lifted. And she'll bring the hand onto the inner ankle. Bring the hand down onto the floor. Good. Keeping that left buttock forward, so she'll turn. Good. So the shoulder blades moving in, the chest turning, sternum lifting, right shoulder moving back, turning that arm. And then let's bring the arm up. She can extend the arm over the head, extending the fingers to the wall. Once she has the fingers to the wall, she can use that to reactivate and come into her back body. Okay, so this is a good pose to do to lengthen and also bring that twisting action before back bending. Okay, inhale, come up. So bend the knee. Let's just straighten the leg and do the second part. So pressing the heel. So as she presses the heel, you can see the knee is a little bit to the right of the right hip. So she needs to bring the right knee in a bit. Right knee. That's it. Okay? And this is kind of a combination between Utthita Trikonasana and Utthita Parishvakonasana. So it's the same action with the leg. Kneecap is lifting, externally rotating that thigh, cutting the buttock under, keeping the buttock long, And now she's going to raise that left arm up. And as she lengthens through that whole left side, so the left side of the trunk is long, she'll bring her fingers to the wall, use that, and then start to bring her hand down onto her shin, keeping that length, using that extended arm on the wall and then the leg to extend. Okay, so now pressing into the right foot, the ankle, the shin, and bring the arm up. So that you're going laterally over that front leg. Turn and bring the hand over. So press the fingertips. Good. So she's pretty flexible, so it's easier for her to over-rotate here. You've got to bring the buttock forward. So brace with the buttock, moving forward as you turn the chest. Breathe. And then finally, turn the bottom hand. Press the bottom hand. So when your hand is looking up toward the ceiling, then you're getting that rotation of the lower arm and that left shoulder. Good. Inhale, swing the arm up. Good. And bend the knee, come out of it carefully. Good. And she's going to turn to do the other side. So we'll get to see from the back body, that back hip. So we'll start with the bent knee action. Good. So even though the leg isn't straight yet, you're still getting that external rotation. That buttock needs to come forward. All right? And then raise your right arm up. Using this foot and this shin bone as a brake. So the leg is moving back this way. The trunk will be moving toward the wall, but the leg is moving back. So getting those two actions simultaneously, bring your arm over. That's it. So she's got her hand right at the ankle. She can take it all the way to the floor if that's working for her. So now she can connect here, the arm and the leg. And as she does that, she brings this buttock forward. Brings the buttock forward. And then she's able to start to lift the chest more, bring that back body in. Moving this forward, lifting the chest. And then bring the arm up. Good, and then take the arm over, use the hand at the wall to, again, lengthen a little bit more, and turn, any amount. Turn that left chest. Remembering this hip, so you don't want to bring the hip in toward the wall, so there's that movement from the front foot toward that hip. Good, and then inhale, swing the arm up, and then bring the foot to the wall. So have the heel connected. Your heel is in line with your front knee, and your back foot is on the floor. Okay, and then lift your right arm up. Pressing down into that knee, lifting up through that left hip, pressing the foot into the wall, drawing the leg back, and then lengthen, extend, and then bring the hand down. So pausing at each of those places so that you've used the support, you use the wall, you get in touch with what's happening in your body, and you correct. Okay, so that buttock moving forward, turning the chest. She's turned her arm, rotating that shoulder. So bringing this in a little bit, lengthen. So this pose, it can be a difficult pose. So there's some places you have to compromise. So sometimes you have to let this go. Sometimes you have to let the hip go. So until you can get all the actions, then you work that way until you can put them all together. Inhale, lift up. Good. Bend the knee. All right, come into Adho Mukha Svanasana. So she's been twisting on one side and then another side. So now we're just going to allow that both sides of the trunk to lengthen, moving the hips back. So strongly using the legs like we did with the ropes. So as if the heels, she could even take the heels all the way to the wall, press the back of the heel to the wall. She doesn't have to bring her heels up the wall, but you can if your hamstrings are tight. But just press the back of the heel and extend the arms forward. Keep the forearms lifted, inner arms lifting, outer arms descending. Press into the index finger. So have that index finger pressing. So go from the little finger side, the weight from the outside to the inside. So that mound of the front finger and the thumb is pressing. Okay. And then walk or step forward. Concave the back. Take hold of the toes. Padangusthasana. So here in this movement, you're holding onto the toes and you're pulling the toes up. But you keep the other toes grounded. So you're just pulling the big toe up to get that length and connection with the upper arm so that you can then bring that focus into the upper back. So you're lengthening and the upper back is lifting. And then observe where you are on your feet. Are you on the front of the foot, the back of the foot? You can see she's shifted forward a little bit, so you want to have your hips over your heels. And then really lift up through the backs of the thighs, open the knees, extend from the calves. Activate the front of the thigh, moving back. So the legs are really important to make sure they're active and they're doing their job so the spinal column can lengthen. Okay, inhale, come up. So Lisa's standing forward. She's in Tadasana. And we'll now practice Utthita Trikonasana, and then we'll go into Parivrtta. So she'll jump her feet wide and turning her right foot out. So combining that Parivrtta and Parivrtta, she's going to the side laterally, coming down, adjusting her shoulders, bringing that right buttock forward, moving the left thigh back, dropping the shoulders. And like with Parivrtta, that bottom arm, she turns that right shoulder back, bringing that right shoulder blade into the body, and then looking up. Okay, inhale, come up. Let's do both sides first. So turn, come to the left side, or the right side, and coming down. So like we want to stand on the inner side of the foot, or inner side of the hand, we also want to stand to the inner side of the foot. So roll from the baby toe side to the big toe side. So you're on the big toe, the inner heel, and from the back foot, press to the outer edge of the back foot, especially the baby toe side. Press the baby toe onto the floor, lift up through the arch. Good. And then inhale, come up, turning, and then turn to the first side. She's going to come into Parivrtta Trikonasana now. So in Parivrtta Trikonasana, you can either bring your hand onto the floor or you can have a block. So some of you may not need to have the block, but I would just suggest it. Taking the hand over, using that bottom hand to connect with the shoulder, turning, and turning that whole upper back. So just to give her a little bit of sensitivity to the back, and you can imagine this on your own. Imagine that top hand is pressing into my hand. And from there, she can start to turn. Keeping the hips lifted. So there's more of a compactness going on with the legs. Good. And then coming down. Bring both hands down onto the floor. I'm just going to brace her because I probably threw her off balance. And then inhale, bring your hands onto your hips, concave the back, so get that same action we had in Padangusthasana, come up. Inhale, come up, and then turn both feet forward. Back to the center, balance on both feet. She's going to turn to the left. So coming back up for a moment, coming back up, bring both feet parallel, so facing forward again. Okay, so in going with Vimasana, we want to use the arms to turn. So the arms are connected to the upper back. So she's going to turn that left foot forward, and she'll use the arms to swing the whole body. Okay, so you can see that her whole middle back goes along with that. So just get used to swinging the arms in that Vimasana. And then, right, so you can take it like an airplane, like you're feeling that twisting, feeling that turn. Just watch that that front foot's not coming off the floor. And now swing that right arm forward and bring your hand down. Start with your back hand on your hip. Okay, and then adjust your hips. So just into each stage, just pause. Don't be in a hurry. Adjust your hips. And then you can see this is the part of the back that needs to move down. It's rounding up toward the ceiling. So she's going to bring that in. Think of waterfall, of water coming down. So this is how it is, from the center of the spine moving down, hand on the hip, and then she'll use that bottom hand to turn that bottom shoulder, turning, drawing that shoulder back, and then she'll take her hand up. And now I'm not in the right position, am I? Yeah. Okay, press, press. Keep that outer right hip lifted. So as you press here, she's able to connect and turn the back body. Good. Now I'm going to release. You still press. And then inhale, come up. Take your... Good. So she came up in one swing. That's good. All right. And then jump your feet together. Good. All right. So we're going to go into Vimasana one more time, going into Virabhadrasana I. So she's going to jump her feet apart and turning that back heel, turn externally rotating the front leg, swing the arms, and turn the trunk. So here, when she's going to go into Virabhadrasana I, she's got to make sure she has the right distance. So just bend your knee first to make sure that and then don't come back. So come back to where you were. Okay. And now turn your foot out again. So whenever we turn your right foot out, or your left foot out, whenever we want to adjust with the back leg. So the front leg, you can adjust with it, but you have to bend, the knee is bent and it throws you off. So it's easier to move that back heel back and lengthen a little bit further. Okay, so then this is your anchored leg. This is your stake in the ground. And here, you can come more onto the ball of the big toe and the inner heel. So that will help you to turn that hip. So you want to turn the hip, press it to the inner foot, turn the hip, turn both hips. That's it. So you're using that Vimasana action again. So turning, grounding that back hip, turning the middle part of the back, turning the waist, turning the chest, but keeping that back foot grounded. As you do that, that whole back thigh turns from the inner thigh to the outer thigh. This outer thigh faces forward, and then bringing your hip forward any amount. Okay, and now swing the arms up. To swing the arms up, you're going to turn the palms out, rotate the shoulders, so the whole arm turns, and then bring the hands up. You can go ahead, be in Urdhva Hastasana, lift up, and then bend the knee. So again, this is a break. So the shin bone moving back, the thigh moving back, pelvis lifting up through the chest. And as you reach up, press with that back heel and turn the chest a little bit more. So you want the chest facing forward. This back leg, because it's in the position it's in, this hip doesn't come all the way forward, but you can work at it. So pressing the inner heel, keeping the back thigh lifting, moving the buttock forward, turn the chest, turn the back waist. Now here, catch the thumbs, lift up, drop the right hip down. Good. Drop the shoulders, shoulder blades, lift the back of the head, and look up. Now take your palms and press the palms together. Take a few breaths, and then when you're ready, inhale, come up. And then turn the feet, face forward. Hands on your hips. Take a few breaths there. Now, Lisa's got long legs, so it's easy for her to get length. So you want to make sure when you get that length, you don't lengthen that back leg too much, because that thigh will drop toward the floor. So you want the back thigh lifting up as well as turning. So let's turn toward the front leg now. So she's adjusted the back foot. Good. And do that Vimasana action a couple times, just to bring that awareness to the middle back, the upper back, pressing into the foot, turning that hip. Okay. And now come back. This time let's bend the knee. So first bend the knee with the arms out to the side. So she's adjusting. She felt when she bent the knee, she needed to take that leg. So she started with the front leg, but she came back to the back heel. Okay, so this shin bone needs to lift, and this is turning. So stay connected to the inner foot. And now rotate the arms, shoulders moving down, palms facing up. Tailbone is moving forward. Pubic bone is lifting. Remember when she was in the ropes and I had my foot at her tailbone. So now she's moving her tailbone forward, and that middle part of the back is lifting, chest is lifting. Bring her arms up, swing the arms up, Urdhva. Good. Sit down into that left hip. Keep the inner back calf lifting. Reach up, shoulders moving down, back of the head lifting. Breathe. Good. And then bring the hands, connect the thumbs, lifting the back of the head as you sink that hip down. And then bring the hands together. Urdhva Namaskar. Taking a few breaths there. And then inhale, come up. Turn the feet, bring the hands down, turn the feet, and then jump the feet together. Good. Stay in Tadasana. Come back to your breath in Tadasana. So full Tadasana, extend the arms down through the fingertips. Thighs moving back. That tailbone is moving forward. So there's an action between the front thigh and the pelvis and the back. All right. So now she's going to come down on her knees. So she's going to bring both one knee to the wall and one foot out. And she's going to use this, you want a blanket or a bolster? Maybe we use the bolster for people that have sensitive knees. It's going to be a little bit easier. Of course, you can do it on a blanket, or you can just do it on the floor. All right? So the key to this is, you see what she's doing here? She needs to get to the front of the knee. So you're not going to be on this part of the knee, but she's onto the front of the knee where the quadricep is. Okay? And then she's stretching the toes up. At this point, she may wonder how she's going to get back up. So she has to start with her bent knee. Okay, so that foot on the floor, knee is bent. You can take these blocks in case you are down so low you can't get up. Okay, now what we're lengthening here is the quadricep muscle. So she's going to bring those blocks in closer to where she can stand up and lengthen up. Okay, so chest is lifting, that front groin is opening. This foot is a brake for her so that she can press back and move her hips back. So if the heel is stopping your hips from moving back, is it the heel or is it your quadriceps? Okay, good. So this is very tight. She's doing a great job moving back. You want to, with that foot, press the hip back and move this hip back. So if you can't go all the way, that's okay. But you'll start to breathe into this quadricep and start to lengthen. Feel where that sensation is strongest and breathe into it and lengthen it. That's the only way. You just have to do the work. You have to breathe. You have to be there. You have to practice. And then you'll start to get that length through the whole front of the thigh. This foot is important to press back. So just like in our other standing poses, you're moving from that outer knee to the outer hip. Okay. You can come down. So she's adjusting the bolster, so it's going to be more under that knee, taking the leg back. And then any way she can, she's going to bring the foot onto the floor. Important that you're just on that knee in the right place. So you're not on the center of the knee, you're more on the top of the knee, right by the thigh. Okay, so she can walk the blocks in, press down into that foot, and then bring herself back any amount. So she's using her hand on her thigh to get that lift up through the anterior spine. She can take her hands up as well on the ropes. If you happen to have the ropes there, that's useful. So the hip is moving down, the lower back is moving down, pubic bone is lifting up, and she's getting that length coming up through the whole front body. Then move your hips all the way back to the wall, as far back to the wall as you can. Move this foot back further. And see if you can touch the wall. So not only are you getting that length through the quadricep, but you're also getting the length through the whole front of the ankle. Okay, and then release. Let me forward. So if people don't have a bolster, you can try with the blanket, or you can try just at the wall. See if you can just show at the wall. So you'd really want to inch that knee right back there. And then make space so this heel is not keeping you from going back. And then walk that foot in. Good. And lift up. So you just be there. Breathe into it. Use the front foot to press your hip back. Lengthen. So observe the sensation you can feel in the front of your quadricep. Let that area lengthen. Feel the buttock area. It's got to move. Resist moving back toward the wall, as well as the pelvis moving toward the wall. So that helps to keep that whole lower back lengthened as well. All right? And then just do the other side. Later on, we'll be doing Supta Virasana. So this is really useful for Supta Virasana as well, for those of you that struggle in Supta Virasana. Really, any of the back bending poses. This is a nice preparation. So again, to make sure the hips are level. So you're dropping that right hip, using the foot to drive it back toward the wall. Buttock moving forward as you move that, both sides, fronts of the pelvis back. Keep your breath soft and just be aware of where you feel that sensation. And with that sensation, bring the breath to that area. Just let it go a little bit. Just stay with it. Stay with the pain, stay with the sensation. And as you stay longer, you'll be able to see that it's a lot less in the end, or even on the second time. The second time you do it will feel much different than the first time. Is that true? Okay, so it's almost cruel not to ask her to do it the second time, because the benefits are what you feel in the second time after the first. Okay, come out. And now you're going to do come into Ustrasana. Why don't you take downward dog just really quick. You'll have your blocks, keep your blocks there. Moving the fronts of the thighs back, giving the quadriceps a little bit of a break. Lengthen the backs of the thighs. So the hamstrings connecting from the heels, lift up through the backs of the legs, up into the sitting bones. Take a few breaths there. All right, and then come down onto your knees again. So we'll practice Ustrasana. And in Ustrasana, you're going to face the wall, okay? So I'm going to give her a little bit of adjustment, similar adjustment as I gave her with the ropes. So she brings the thighs to the wall. So you can see that the thigh is parallel to the wall, and she's opening through the front of the pelvis. The front body is lengthening. And now she's going to get this nice curve in the body. So before she starts to curve, she needs to, let's take your hands onto your hips. Yeah. So take your thumbs on your tailbone, or on your hips, yeah. So first pressing with the thumbs, moving the tailbone into the body, opening the front of the groin. But before you go back, lift up. So get that concave action. So you want to lengthen through the lower ribs, middle ribs, and lift up. Because if you're not getting that length, then you're just going to compress the spine. So first do that work, buttocks at the wall, tailbone at the wall, lengthening. And now, just so you can see the direction, I'm going to bring my heel right to her tailbone to help her move that. And then I'll bring my foot here just a little bit until she comes down. So lifting and bring your hands down. Give her space to come down. You can take the blocks just to begin with. Whoops. So have some support there, whatever you know you're going to need. You can try first to come down onto the heels. And then I'm lifting up, pressing her sitting bones. Now lift the chest, collarbones wide, roll the shoulders back. So when you bring your hands down onto the blocks, turn the palms, face the palms back so that that rotation is happening on the upper arm and the shoulder. Okay, I'm going to take my feet away. So she's moving in that direction. Tailbone, lengthening, and bringing that middle part of the spine in. Okay, so now inhale, come up. Just so you have some options, you can also come down on a bolster, so we'll show all directions. So using that same progression, thumbs at your lower back. Yeah, and then turn the palms, face the buttocks, face the fingers down, and then start to slide the hands down. So you use the top of the palm to descend the buttock, but keep that lift through the trunk. So there's a movement downward and as well as lengthening and upward, okay? And then start to lean back and bring your hands onto the bolster. Fingers moving back, that's it. Press down. So the final pose is on your heels. So here you're pressing into the bolster, lifting up through the arms like you did in Padangusthasana, widening through the collarbones. Good. Tailbone moving in, middle of the back chest, lengthening the back of the head. So you're not throwing your head back, you're dropping the shoulders, which you did, but I'm just showing you. Lift up through the back of the head and then keep the neck lengthened and bring the head back. If you have any neck issues, don't bring the head back. If you have any neck issues at all, keep the head lifted and maintain that length. Okay? It's only by virtue of working with the arms and the shoulders and getting this whole movement in the chest that you can bring the head back. If you don't have that, then don't take your head back at all. Okay, and then inhale, come up. All right, for those of you that want to go a little bit deeper and have been, we're going to show in increments first. She's going to come onto her toes. So the heels are lifted. So she has a little bit of height here, just like the bolster, almost like the blocks. Blocks are a little bit higher. It's taking you down a little bit further. So just be on the feet, and then from there, you're going to start to slide the hands down the buttocks, the thumb at the tailbone, and then slide the fingers down. Keep the thighs moving toward the wall. If you come a little bit away from the wall, if you happen to come a little bit away from the wall, then bring your hands onto your heels, and now bring the buttocks to the wall. Bring the thigh to the wall. Lengthen the front of the thigh like you did in that earlier preparation. Shoulder blades in, roll the shoulders out, lengthen the back of the head, and then you can bring the head back if that's appropriate for you. Breathe. Now keep moving the buttocks forward. So you're not clenching the buttocks. Again, you're firming the buttocks. So it's kind of not fully compressing. There's just a nice movement to that buttocks. Top of the buttocks is moving down, bottom of the buttocks is moving up, middle of the buttocks is moving forward. Okay, inhale, come up. Come onto the fronts of your feet. So now here is where it becomes important for those front ankles. The work that you did in that preparation, you're going to be pressing the whole foot down on the floor. If the ankle doesn't go to the floor, then you're going to have a blanket or something underneath your ankle so you can press down into it. Okay, so you want that contact with the floor. And if your ankle is not going to the floor, you can bring some support like that. Okay, so Lisa doesn't need that, so I'm going to take it away. But you see how you can adjust, because here her ankles are lifting up. Let's see, when you go back, are you able to bring your ankles down, or should we use that support? Okay, so you can see here, the front of her ankle and the shin bone is lifting up. So it would be good for her to use that blanket, so she'll have more awareness there and be able to. How was it with your foot on the blanket? Was it okay? Okay, all right, so it feels good. She's working hard, so let's give her a little bit of a extra support. All right, so when you're pressing down, because this is your foundation, you're pressing down into the foot, the front of the ankle, to the shin bone. You want to have not be pressing into space. You have to press into something, so she can feel that now. Can you feel it? Yes. More support? Yes. Okay, so she's going to come back the same way. Middle buttocks in, buttocks forward. Slide the hands down. Lengthen the fronts of the thighs. Lift up from the anterior spine, from the pubic bone to the navel. Lift the chest. So lengthening, getting that curling action. Move the shoulders back. Press the hands down strongly, like when you were connecting with Padangusthasana with the toes. Lift up through the arms, and with that, lift the chest. Ustrasana. Okay, come up. All right, so I'm showing you variations there, so you know how you can adjust according to your body condition and what's happening. All right, so let's just do one more time, Ustrasana. You're going to know Ustrasana in and out. So I guess you could leave this. You're going to face the wall, or have your thighs facing out. And then, yeah, you'll be a little bit away from the wall, not as much as that. Maybe come back a little bit. Okay, so she'll go into it the same way as if she were against the wall. So now the back of the thigh is moving forward, buttocks moving forward. This thigh is resisting moving back, and it's lengthening. And then she'll take her hands down. She can come down onto the heels, press the hands into the heels. And now she's finding her head at the wall. So she can use the head to now feel, how is the left chest lifting? How is the right chest lifting? Bring the shoulder blades into the body. Lift both sides of the chest more. Breathe. And there you can lengthen the neck. So if you're not able to extend and bring your head down, you can have the back of the head at the wall so the neck is lengthened, and you can move the shoulders down away from that. Okay. I think she would like to stay there forever. Bring your hands onto your hips. Come up. So how did that feel when you brought the head up? That was nice, yeah? Okay. All right, so for people that have any kind of neck issues, having it higher gives you a little bit of leverage, and then you can lengthen the shoulders and you can lift the chest and see which chest you're lifting more than the other. Okay. All right, good. Take a downward dog real quickly just to recover that, all those back bending actions. So downward dog becomes kind of a neutral pose, doesn't it? You're lengthening and you're getting that extension. You're using the legs, you're using the thighs to extend the hips and extend from the root of the spine. So the spine starts here, goes all the way to the crown of the head. You're using the arms as well. So the arms and the legs give us access to the spine. Okay, and then come down. She's going to use a bolster now. She's going to come into Salabhasana. In Salabhasana, we're on the floor, right? But she's going to use the bolster to bring the pelvis right onto the center. So the center of gravity will be here, and she's going to have, she'll do first, so do in the center first. So she's bringing her pelvis right into the center of the bolster. Salabhasana, the feet are together. If you can't bring your feet together, then work on bringing them together. So the outer thighs are compact. Again, the tailbone is moving down, the buttocks is firm, and you're going to use the hands on the floor to lift the chest. And do you want to do both at the same time, or are you going to do okay, so the arms are going to come back, and she's going to lift the legs. So she's balancing right there on the pelvis. She's got to get a lift of the chest. She's got to really extend those arms back and press through the feet and lift the thighs. Lift the kneecap into the hips, into the socket. And then come down. So another way you can practice is you can shift your weight so you're coming one direction or the other. So here, the feet will be down. So she's got it higher on the pelvis, and the arms are going to be lifted. So she can use the feet on the floor to help her lift up through the chest. In fact, I'm going to sit on her heels, give her a little bit more. So using that action to prepare of, you saw how much her chest went up. So really pressing the heels down, pressing the feet down. Turn the arms. So where I was giving her that adjustment before, right between the shoulder blades, buttocks moving down. Okay. And then, so you're using that bolster to lift up away from, and you're using the feet to give you more lift. And you saw when I was pressing to her heels more, which was also bringing the front of her foot down toward the floor. So that's why in this position, if she were to use the blanket, so lift up, she could get that press a lot more on her own because she has something to press into, right? So I pressed her heels by sitting on her heels, but now with that blanket, she can feel that and lift up. Good, so you can practice that way. All right, come down. Now let's show coming forward more and lifting the legs. So you'll probably find this on your own. You'll be in the wrong place and you'll either fall forward or you'll fall back. So we did it in a balanced way to begin with, but now we're doing it the weight in one side and lifting the other side. So for those of you that difficult to lift the legs, this is going to be a little bit easier just to get that action and the sense of, oh, my legs are lifting up. That feels great. I feel what that is like. I can do that. So, and then lifting the chest any amount. But it's definitely more difficult because you're so far forward. And then come back to the center again. So finding the center. Now that you've done both sides, finding out what happens when you're too far in the pelvis, your head and chest is down, or you're too far back, your legs are planted on the floor. So from there, stretch your arms back. Roll the shoulders back. Stretch out through the palms. Lift the legs. So you can lift the legs even higher here because you're on the bolster. Okay, all right, have fun with that one. All right, here she is, centralized right in the center. So you can see she can lift the arms and the shoulders, lengthen from the shoulders all the way back through the fingertips, palms facing up, lift the backs of the fronts of the feet, lift the legs up, breathe. Now lift the chest. Lift the legs. That's it. And then come down. Come into downward dog. Just with the bolster there. You can bring your legs, heels back toward the wall. And here, you can use the bolster to just make sure that those forearms are not falling to the floor. So if you're very flexible, your tendency is going to be let those forearms fall toward the floor instead of doing the work in your shoulders. So the forearms are resisting, and the upper arm is lifting up, shoulders, blade moving up, middle back, a little concave without dropping your front ribs. Good. And then come down. So now Dhanurasana on the bolster. So she's again going to centralize herself. And let's do the legs first. Okay, so come more toward the front. All right. The legs for some are very difficult to lift up. So when she takes her hands on the feet, they're on the front of the foot. She first started out with her knees wide, which is what happens, and the buttocks lifts up. So the buttocks now move down. She brings the thighs together or parallel to one another, like they were at the wall. So you're lengthening the fronts of the thighs. And then you're going to move the buttock down, open the front of the groin, and lift the legs up. So using the arms to get that lift, keep moving the outer legs towards one another. So they're not touching, but they're not splaying apart either. So you're using the middle buttocks, the tailbone, and reaching back with the arm. Look forward slightly. Head forward. Okay, and then come down. So you can feel that lengthening that we got in the front of the groin, or that Lisa got in front of the groin to begin with. Okay, so now she's adjusting, so she's coming back. So now the arms and the chest will lift, and she'll press the knees down. So here she can keep the legs more parallel to one another. She can use that action to lift up through the chest. Again, lengthening and then getting that rounding action in the back. Dhanurasana is a bow pose. So think of a bow and arrow. So the bow is arched, and then there's this string. So her body here is in that arched position, and her arms are that bow. So that's a very taut bow. There's no slack there. And because of that coming down, because of that roundedness, and because of that tautness of the string, there's that lift and the arch in the upper chest. Okay? So now she's coming into the center. She'll take her feet. So you may not be able to reach your feet. If you can't, you can have a strap around the feet. And now she takes the arms back, lifts up. Now bring the outer thighs towards one another. Bring the knees towards one another. That's it. Now flex the toes. Flex the toes. So when you're not on the bolster, when you flex the toes, that helps you get more lift of the chest. But she already has lift of the chest. So now let's just stretch the toes up toward the ceiling. Lift up, lift up, lift up. So the thighs are lifting, toes are lifting. Breathe. Okay, come down. Come back into Adho Mukha Svanasana. So here, it's nice with the bolster. You can rest your head. You have the support of the forearms. And use the heels at the wall to get that extension and length through the spine. So back bending is tremendous for our practice to make sure that we're getting that opening, we're getting that movement in the spinal column. Because most times we're seated and most times we're hunching over. So that to get that reverse action brings that tone and brings the muscular action to the back body that needs to happen for the circulation to happen and for the blood flow to flow into the the discs and the area around the disc. Okay, and then come down. And now you're going to go into Supta Virasana. Okay, so she's going to enjoy this. She'll use the bolster for Supta Virasana. If I had asked her to do this at the first of class, that might not have had such a happy response on her face. But now that she's lengthened and done a bit of back bending, her thighs are ready. So now she's sitting down here. If you can't sit in Virasana on the floor, you can take more bolster height. I'm going to have her show this, and I'll get some other props, and then I'll have her come up and we'll show. Okay, so she's coming down. She's sitting on the floor. She can, between the ankles, and then she's lengthening that buttocks, the same direction. So the buttocks is still moving this way, still lengthening the backs of the thighs, and the fronts of the thighs now are lengthening. Okay, so when she comes down, I want her to come into an arch a little bit, and then bring your forearms down, and see, can you bring the back of the head down first? So use the arms pressing into the feet, bring the back of the head, and get that lift of the chest. Okay? And now use your hands on the mat. Bring your head up. Feel the back of the lower back on that bolster and start to press from the lower to the middle to the upper. So one vertebrae at a time, your spine is lengthening. And then this blanket she'll have right up to her shoulders. Okay, so it's supporting her whole neck. And with the arms, turning the arms out so that the tops of the shoulders are descending, shoulder blades moving down, but the whole back body is descending. From the tops of the shoulders down, the buttocks moving down, through the backs of the legs. Good. So the thighs remain parallel. The knees are not coming apart. If your knees are coming apart, then your lower back is getting a little bit pinched. So I'm going to get a couple of other props, and I'll show you some variations that you can do in this pose. So just be there and breathe. All right, and then you come up. Now, if she was quite stiff in her knees or needed more support, she could sit on this block. That's one way. She can sit on that block, but when she sits on that block, then this height behind her has to be raised up. So she can have that bolster close into her lower back, and then bring this one in, and then come down the same way. So she tilts the pelvis so that the lower back is lengthening down, and then she'll come down onto the bolster. Okay, so you just have to see. You have to adjust and see. Is this the right configuration for you? Do you need more support under your back? Do you need less support than that block? Maybe you just have a smaller block. Maybe you just have a blanket there. So many different ways to do that. How's your back feeling in this? Fine. Yeah, okay, so there's less tension on the knees because she's come up a little bit higher. So for those of you, come up again, those of you that need a little bit extra support, you can also come up off that block. You can bring the bolster in a little bit closer, sit on the bolster, and then raise that up so it's a little, I'm not sure, is your back going to lengthen on that? No, her head's going to come up. Okay, so come up. So I'm going to turn the bolster the other direction. There, and I'm going to put a block under the bolster here. Okay, so now and her head is being thrown back a little bit and she's tilting. So You know, there's no right way. You have to find a way that your body feels that you're supported, your lower back is not being compressed. Okay, so try different variations and see. How does that feel?
This is like I can fall asleep.
Okay, so that's like dessert. She loves that. Okay, so if you want a little bit longer in the pose, you know you can go into Supta Virasana, but you start to get pinching, then just start to build up your height. You have blocks, you have bolsters, you have blankets, so don't be afraid to play around and take the right dimensions of the props that you need. So just making sure that you're lengthening the lower back. So thighs are parallel to one another, and then you can bring your arms over your head, holding onto your elbows. And with that, you're lengthening through the side trunk. So you can get even more length, back ribs moving forward, front ribs moving down. When the front ribs are lifting up, that middle back is kind of shortening. So with the front ribs moving down, you can lift those back ribs. Lift them up and lengthen. Okay? So I think you've been there long enough. All right. She would like to stay there all day. And I'm sure you all would like to come up if you've been in. Come up. And when you come up, come onto your knees. Cross your ankles. And sit back on your hips. And bring your legs straight out in front of you to Dandasana. So because you've been in that position with your knees, now we want to let the knees open up through the back of the knees. So just observe how your legs feel, and when you're ready, you can start to stretch the legs out. And finally, if they are feeling, okay, I can really straighten my legs now, then draw the kneecaps up. So let the kneecap move into the socket, move the back of the thigh down, and using the fingertips, keep lifting up. So getting that same action we had in Padangusthasana, moving in here, using the shoulders, press the hands down, lift the chest. So the legs, the actions of the legs are descending as she lifts up through the side trunk. Okay, and then come down, or come out of that, and you're going to lay down on the floor, and you're going to turn around. We'll go do Setu Bandha with the brick.
Straight legs.
Yeah. So depending on her body condition, here's the highest block. I'm not sure if this is the extra long block. I think it is. So this might be too high. But she's going to bend her knees first. And then she can take the same, whatever block she uses under her pelvis, I want her to use now. Okay, so we're not going so much into back bending. We're going into more just a restorative. So she lifts the hips up. She brings it right on the tailbone. So because that's a hard surface, and the tailbone is hard, then you can get that leverage to open up through here. Okay, so she adjusts, extends the arms, and then she gets that same rotation of the arms, turns onto the outer shoulders, lengthens the arm. Good. And then feeling that same lift in the chest as she had earlier from when we did the ropes and many of the other poses. Thighs descending. So as the thighs descend, again, this is opening. Bring the toes together, the heels together. You can also have two blocks, and you can separate the legs if that's going to be difficult for you to bring the legs together. Okay, so moving the thighs down. Now she's showing on the highest block. But for some of you, maybe that high block is going to be a little bit too high. So it has 3 adjustments, either the higher, or turn it sideways, or flat. So I think everyone can do it on the second height. Let's show it. So bring your feet down. Everyone can stay where you are. And then, so take the block sideways. And if you have any kind of lower back issues, or you just want to feel that block across the lower back evenly, let's take the block down. So now I've adjusted the block to that same height as the block under her hips. And the block is going from the narrow to both sides of the hips, so she can feel that evenly, whereas before it was right at the tailbone. So it was moving the tailbone in, like all of the actions that we did in the other poses. Here, you're feeling more support under both sides of the hips, under both sides of the sacrum. And then you can hold onto the mat and pull the arms down and rotate the arms. Keep that lift of the chest. And then just be there. Again, if you need to bring the feet wider, you can take the feet a little bit wider. So if you were having your cycle, you wouldn't be doing this practice, but you could be doing this with bringing your feet a little bit wider. So there's space across the pelvis. So here, this is really nice through the pelvic area, through the abdomen. And with all the work that you've done, there's still something happening, even though it doesn't look like she's doing anything. Her body's just loving that openness, and it's loving bringing all the energy, the nutrients through the blood into the different areas of the body that we've been working on. So, if you're sitting at a desk all day, or if you're sitting, driving, sitting in a car, this is really nice to do because it opens that whole front body up. Okay. And then lift up. We didn't do Virabhadrasana, did we? Huh? No, let's do Supta Padangusthasana 1, okay? So I'm going to give her a strap. I'll just take this rope at the wall. So always with our back bends, we want to release the back. So she's going to use this strap for her right foot. She'll bring the left foot to the wall. So just allowing that leg to draw down so she feels evenness on both sides of the hips. Yep. And keep the leg so that it's 90 degrees. So if your strap is too short when you're holding it like this, then take the strap and lengthen the strap out so that you come to that 90-degree angle. Okay, so you're opening through the pelvis, the left and the right side are evenly distributed on the floor. She can see her knee, so she's going to tighten the kneecap after doing Virasana. So she's still going to work on opening through the back of the knee. This thigh is descending. So keeping the ball of the foot at the wall, the heel, lifting the kneecap up. So this is the back leg when we were doing Virabhadrasana I, Utthita Trikonasana, and Parivrtta Trikonasana. This leg stays grounded through the back foot, and this leg is lifted up. Okay, change sides. So she's going to bring that leg to the wall again before she straightens this leg. So just observe if you came away from the wall, move yourself back to the wall before you go into the full pose. And then once that leg is straight, that inner knee is moving down, inner thigh is moving down, and then she'll straighten this leg up. Here, you can have it at the ball of the foot, you can also have it at the heel. Since we're going to work more on getting evenness through the pelvis now, let's have it on the heel, just so that you can feel that connection of the tibia into the femur bone, into the hip socket, and get a little relief on the lower back. And then breathe through your back body, spread the back ribs, feel the breath in the abdomen, release the breath down. So the whole lower back is spreading across the pelvis. Relax your face. All right, and release the leg. And then bring both knees into the chest, Parivrtta Trikonasana. So here, she's bringing the interlacing the fingers at the shins. The back of the hip is staying down onto the floor. And so she's bringing, as she brings the legs to the chest, she could lift the hips up, but she's going to keep the hips down so she can release the abdomen toward the lower back. So just be with the breath there. Spread the back ribs as you breathe into the back body. And then lengthen the left leg, keep the right knee bent. So because you're at the wall, you can use that leg. Keep that buttock down as well, that front of the buttock. So this leg is active, those toes are active, and this right foot, the toes are relaxed. Bring the leg toward the chest any amount. All right, and then change sides. So when you're in these poses that you're holding for a little while, stay with your breath. So you're not staying with your shopping list or what phone call you need to make. So we've done a lot of work and used the body in a way that it's activated our cells, our brain. We had to use our brain and our intelligence to take the right actions. The body supported us doing that. So now as we come into these quieter poses, just let the mind be on the breath. And then release that leg. Come a little bit away from the wall. She's going to go into Shavasana. If your head is being thrown back, if you don't get the right adjustment on your shoulders, your head will lift up. So she can take this blanket. She doesn't have that issue, but sometimes it's nice to have the back of the neck supported. And if you do take that support, bring it all the way to the tops of your shoulders. So start with your knees bent again. Adjust your pelvis so that the whole lower back, like when you were doing those last two poses, that lower back you can feel on the left and the right. All right, take your hands down on the sides of the mat and stretch out through the right leg. And bring both feet together. So you're stretching the right leg and left leg. Bring the toes together, the heels together. Sometimes you have to look down between your legs to see, are you in the center? Sometimes the legs are over to the right, your shoulders are over to the left. Okay, and now with your hands, walk your hands down, shoulder blades down, adjust your shoulders, and then let the whole arm turn out. And now when she did that, you can see her shoulders have moved away from the back of her head more. So she has to bring that blanket closer to the tops of the shoulders. So because she was higher up onto the shoulders. So you want to be flat on your shoulder blades and get that rotation of the arms. Turn the palms up. And just bring your arms to the side. And let the feet turn out. So once you let the feet turn out, if you still feel like you need a little bit of space, just scrub the heels away a little bit so that you have more space. You have a bolster there. You could have also taken the bolster under your legs. So just depending on how your body's feeling, I'm going to take the bolster, put it on the tops of her thighs so her legs are weighing heavily down at the thigh, which is also quite nice. So stay in your Shavasana. The back of the head release down. Feel the shoulders releasing the whole back body, backs of the ribs, down through the tailbone. And then just with your breath, releasing all of the little muscles on each side of the tailbone and through the lower back. Bringing that breath up, spreading, widening, letting go in the back body. Feeling the shoulder blades moving toward the chest as your shoulders move down toward the floor. Not with any action, but just in the way that you've positioned yourself. Just observing your right side and your left side. See that you're positioned evenly. If you're not, then just be content with where you are now. You've done all your adjustments, but just observe that so that before you take your final pose, that you've made all the adjustments you need to feel symmetrical. Feel the backs of the hands on the floor. Observe where you are in your heels. And then just let the legs and the pelvis release down with the weight of the bolster. Sensing that bolster on the thighs. Move the thighs away. And then come back to your breath. So I'll leave you in Shavasana. Thank you. Namaste. Thanks for joining us. I hope you learned something. I hope you had a good practice. I know Lisa is invigorated and she's ready for her day. So thank you, Lisa. You did a great job and you're welcome. So if you'd like to watch other of the classes that I've done that might be similar as far as backbending, you can look at these and practice a little bit more. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Namaste.